Okay, so welcome to this week's 15-minute Feature Friday. Today we're going to be talking about the Milestone XProtect software layout properties pane and the good, the bad, and how to keep things from getting ugly. So specifically, we want to go over some really good features that are found in that area of the software and some stuff that we want to watch out for. So getting right into it, I've got a smart client layout here, and the properties pane that we're referring to is only visible when you're in the setup mode. So a lot of people don't even know this thing exists down here because on many cases it's scrolled pretty far off the bottom of the screen. So if you're in setup mode and you scroll down to the bottom, you're going to see the properties pane down here. And we've got some options found in here. So we've got a camera name, a live stream, image quality. We'll get to these things here in a little bit. But the first thing I want to address is the default live stream selection. So this is where you can choose that secondary stream that comes in from a camera. So if you have your camera configured to do multiple streams, maybe your secondary stream is set to a lower resolution, lower frame rate, you can have it on a specific layout basis, have that default stream for this camera tile default to that lower resolution stream. So this is offloading that transcoding and that processing to the camera and enabling you to have a more optimized video stream going out to the smart client software. So this isn't going to be dynamic stream selection. It's not automatically changing it back or forward depending on what you choose, but it does let you default on a specific layout to that lower resolution stream to save some bandwidth. And you still have the option, if you choose that secondary stream, to still go in here on a camera basis and switch manually to that higher resolution stream if you want to. So typically people would be recording the higher resolution, higher frame rate stream on the actual recording server, but then you could have it stream by default on this layout, that secondary lower stream, if it's made available in your server configuration. So it's a way you can sort of get around some bandwidth limitations and not blow anything out processing-wise on your recording server. So it's a useful feature, and it is layout specific. So you can have a layout that uses the low bandwidth version of these cameras, and then another identical layout that uses the higher bandwidth version just by making that default stream selection change. Another thing I wanted to talk about that's a really useful feature is update on motion. It's this little tick box down here that a lot of people don't even realize is there. I've got a layout already pre-set up that has that enabled, so I'll show you what that looks like. So if we switch over here, and we've got the update on motion ticked, and I've got it ticked for all these cameras, what it's simply going to do is it's only going to stream video bandwidth and use the resources of the workstation computer when motion's actually occurring on the screen. So this is useful in that you can have an operator's attention be automatically drawn to wherever there's activity on the screen, because it's going to go from this grayed out no motion tile to activity on the screen, kind of drawing your attention around. So it'll work on a give the operator an opportunity to see these things on larger layouts that would otherwise kind of get lost in when your eyes kind of glaze over when you're trying to look at too many things at once. It's also really useful because it doesn't consume processing power on the workstation machine when these streams are not active. So you could have a large number of cameras on screen at once, but you're not consuming the resources of having all those operating unless they're all experiencing motion at the same time. So potentially, if you have a property or a site that doesn't tend to get a whole lot of motion across multiple camera tiles, this would give you the opportunity of viewing more cameras at once without overwhelming your host computer, the workstation computer that you're running this on. Another nice feature down here is this apply to all button. So if you have a larger layout, so we'll switch over to one of my 9 camera layout here. If you wanted to enable this feature, you don't have to go through and click every camera individually and go and make that change. Update on motion, click update on motion. And you can do it in batches, so to speak, and it applies only to the layout. So you can take one camera, make your change, scroll down and say apply to all, and it would impact that change that you made would impact all the cameras within that layout. So that can save you a lot of time when you want to make this alteration to all the cameras in a specific layout. So that's some of the good things that are found in that area of the software. So now on to one of the kind of the bad. So I did find that there's a bug with this. I'm not sure if the bug is present in 2019 R1. We'll have to check that, and we can get it reported and kind of and taken care of. But what it is sometimes so if you've got a customer that's using this feature and they've got the update on motion thing and they switch back to a normal layout occasionally, and it doesn't always do it. Seems to be related to the setup button. If you switch back, sometimes I can get it to do it, sometimes it won't. Let me try a few more times, and if it doesn't, I'll just describe it. And I've had it do it a number of times on its own, and Sometimes it's worse some days, and then sometimes it's not. Well, in any case, what it'll do is you'll switch to the normal layout, and it'll still say no motion detected. You'll get this screen here that says no motion detected from the server, but it's clearly got motion. Oh, there it goes. So we have no motion on here, but if you watch here in the background, you'll see that it's actually still streaming in the background. And when there's motion occurring in the background, you'll see it starts recording. So it's working correctly. Something goes glitchy with the overlay occasionally if this happens. So the fix for this is real simple. You just go into setup mode and then exit out of it, and that clears up that little glitch. So it's a minor thing, but if you have this set up for a customer and you run into that, that's what it is. That's the fix for it. And I think we can probably get that taken care of fairly quickly. So then on to the ugly. So this is an area something you want to watch out for. There is an option in here where you can change the image quality from full to a lower image quality level, or you can change the frame rate to a lower frame rate level. Doing a change here other than full or other than unlimited has a significant impact on the recording server, because it's forcing the recording server to send a non-native video stream out to the smart client for whatever tile this has this option changed on. And it has a direct impact on the recording server. It's having to transcode and manipulate that video, kind of like mobile server does, to provide you a non-standard video stream. It's much better to offload that onto the camera. So what happens when you do that? I've got another layout set up here where I can show you the difference. So this is a layout, and here's that glitch I was talking about. So I can go to setup mode, clear out. So I've got a layout set up here that just has normal cameras running. And in my virtual machine that's kind of running this whole show, we can see that we're pulling about, well, it's a little higher than normal. About 40% CPU, 30%. I guess it's spiking a little bit because I got the Skype thing going on. It was lower earlier. So we'll look at about 30% here, and then we'll switch over and I'll do the version of this that has the reduced frame rate and the reduced resolution. And we look at the difference of what it does. Now we're up to 50, 60, 58%, 81%. So it's a significant impact on the server. It's not totally blowing it out. Actually, to be honest, when I set this up, I expected it to max out the CPU and for it to be just pegged at 99%. It wasn't as dramatic as I thought it would be, but it does very significantly impact the server. I mean, this is one recording server. This is one layout with one user doing this. So imagine if this setting was changed not on a private folder, but in a shared view, where you had 4 or 5 people accessing the system at once, each pulling 9 streams, each doing this. You're going to really quickly blow out your recording server. I went on site recently to a customer where they literally had a layout kind of like this, and they had labeled it "Do not use" with exclamation points because they had no idea why, but every time they went to that layout, their recording server just blew out on CPU usage, and that was the cause. We were able to get that cleared up for them. So there is a way you can fix this and you can mitigate it. So let me switch into setup mode. So over in the smart client profiles, we can lock this out. I wanted to show you the other area. There's 2 areas where you can get into trouble with this. So we have in setup mode, obviously what we just talked about, the options here, but you also have it in the settings for the smart client software. So in the application pane, you also have this option where you can enable this, but it's not going to be on a layout basis. This is going to be globally if you make the change here. And so all of your layouts are going to have this impact on the recording server. So one of the first things I do when I set up a system is I'll go into Smart Client Profiles and lock this out. So on my screen, it's grayed out. That's because over here, I've got this locked out. So I've got it set to full and unlimited in the Smart Client Profiles, and I tick the box for lock it. And that locked that down, so this cannot be changed. The other thing over here, we don't have a Smart Client Profile specifically for these two pull-down menus. You can only lock it out on the Properties pane. And that's found over here if you go to the Setup tab. And that's what this option is right here. So I didn't want to lock it out because then if I did that, I wouldn't be able to show you the feature. So on my screen, I have it available right now, but you can take that away. So if you take that away, you've also taken away their ability to see the update on motion thing down here. So does that mean they can't use that feature? No. An administrator that uses a different smart client profile could set up this layout and turn on the update on motion, but not have that properties pane available for a user and still take advantage of the feature. So they could set up a layout that uses that feature and a layout that doesn't use that feature. So it's still available. It can still be configured even if you have the properties pane blocked out. where people can't use it. And that is the main thing that I wanted to talk about with regard to that. Any questions or anything so far?
Hey, Jason, I might just throw in one comment real quick.
Yeah, please.
The very first thing you went over about choosing a different live stream, we might just point out that that's only possible in products that support multi-live streaming like corporate and expert.
Ah, okay. Very good. But that, on those upper products, if you do need that, and again, it's not dynamic streaming, it's not going to automatically switch between the two, but it does let you offload that responsibility, so to speak, to the cameras and have an opportunity to do some bandwidth conservation. So again, with these features here, does that mean you should never, ever use the reduced frame rate or the resolution option on here? Generally, I would suggest that you avoid it, but there may be cases. Maybe you've got a customer that has an underpowered machine, off in the stick somewhere with a really limited bandwidth connection, and you want to let them set up that in maybe their private layout where other people can't get to it, kind of keep it really under lock and key. If you've got a special case scenario for it, yeah, that's what the feature is there for. Use it. But just be aware that it's a very sharp double-edged sword. If you do that, it will have a significant impact on the recording server, so you want to make sure you keep that under control and don't inadvertently let a bunch of people start using it, because it will really bog down your nice, shiny, expensive recording server with doing tasks that should be offloaded to the edge, to the workstations that are running the software. And that is pretty much it for the presentation, for the demonstration. So just to recap, the good, default live stream selection, update on motion, and apply to all. Default, like we just talked about, was the ability to choose the different streams, update on motion, draw the operator's attention to the different tiles on the screen, and also to reduce the workload of the workstation, and apply to all as a time saver to apply these features to all the tiles that are on a given layout. The bad, that minor update or minor bug with the update on motion feature, I think we should be able to get that taken care of, but it's really easily fixed or worked around by just going to the setup button and going into setup mode and exiting out. And then the ugly, the image quality and frame rate options, just don't do it. Lock it out with smart client profiles, but got the asterisk on there. So yeah, if it's a really special case, okay, fine, but be very careful with the feature, because it can really get you into trouble with the recording server software. And that's it. Do we have any questions or anything like that? We're right up, kind of coming up on the 15 minutes. There's been some chat stuff going on that I haven't had a chance to read. Transcoding. Oh, do we actually have NVIDIA acceleration for the transcoding for this feature? Josh, can you unmute? Is that what I'm reading?
So I remember, I think when they were coming out with the NVIDIA hardware acceleration, that initially we weren't using NVIDIA for it, but I asked about it on Workplace, and they said, yeah, we'll do that. So I don't know if it's in the product or not, but I'm pretty sure transcoding should be able to take care of at least Intel hardware acceleration, if not both.
That would be really useful. Yeah, that would be really cool if they did that. My understanding, at least the way I understood it, is it didn't. It was completely CPU based. But if it can offload to a hardware acceleration, that would be brilliant. And that would make that a lot more useful to take advantage of.
So the mobile server, that's what it does all day. It takes video in, converts it to JPEG, and sends it out, and it uses hardware acceleration. So there's no reason we shouldn't use it on the recording server with
thought to enable it.
Exactly. So I'll see if I can dig up the message on Workplace.
Okay, cool. Let's see here. So to find anything very useful. Yeah. So that's the 15-minute Feature Friday. As usual, if you have any ideas or suggestions for us, email them into us. We'll be happy to kind of try to prioritize those for future 15-minute Feature Fridays. And I appreciate everybody showing up. We'll catch you next week.
Thank you, Jason.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks, Jason.